Kyle Tanouye, thank you for joining us on ThinkTech Hawaii. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
So you have this exciting company that's doing all kinds of things around cell phones and marketing and distributing and branding on cell phones, and you have some news for us about a new product. Tell us about the product involving Sports.
Oh, great. Sure. Well, we're very proud to have an opportunity to partner with Oceanic Time Warner Cable. We've been working with them for the last year on various campaigns. And this month, we've been introducing a new iPhone application for them that allows them to distribute video content, and one of them being football. In addition to that, users that download the app that's available on the App Store now can also get exclusive OC16 content available there.
What's the name of the app? How do I find it? I love new apps on my iPhone.
Okay. Well, I think Oceanic is putting it on their websites, which I think is oceanic.com or oc16.tv. It's also available on the App Store. You just do a search for Oceanic TWC.
KWC.
Or TWC, Time Warner
TWC,
Cable.
okay.
Yeah.
That's the name of the app.
That's the name of the app.
Excellent. The more apps, the better. My friend Keith Agana has millions of apps on his phone. we want as many apps as we can get.
That's right.
So the whole notion of apps, congratulations on this
Thank
product
you.
and
Thank
the
you.
deal with Oceanic. That sounds great.
Thank
But going a step further, people talk about wireless Waikiki, and Sony's been talking about this for 10 years anyway, with a PDA or a telephone where you walk through the mall, you walk down Kalakaua Avenue, and assuming you want this, you set it to say yes, the merchants can talk to you, the merchants can try to sell you stuff, invite you into their premises or restaurant, what have you. So how far away are we, how far away are you from this kind of technology? Wireless Waikiki.
Yeah, we're actually here today, and I'll say that in that it's really the tip of the iceberg of how it gets even more exciting. But I say it's here because one of the other products that we're launching actually today, everything's going at the same time.
It's a good day to talk to you, Kyle.
Yeah, it is very timely. Is another of our clients that is Hawaii Magazine. That's one of the oldest publications for Hawaii content. They have about 75,000 households, I think, in the country. They're utilizing our system to create a mobile community that allows their readers and any visitors that come into Hawaii the ability to join their network via mobile phone and get not only specials and discounts from Hawaii, but also event notices, even safety alerts, things like jellyfish warnings, what to do when you're here.
So is it GPS, directed? In other words, it's going to happen if you're in a certain crosshair somewhere?
It will be. One of the opportunities for mobile is that we have so many different tool sets. There's the basics, which is just being able to communicate to the user, making sure that he has the right content, and also applying some more advanced features like location-based services, GPS-centric type focus targeting messaging. Talisman supports all of those today. We work with different clients to find out which fits them first. So in the case for this network that Hawaii Magazine is rolling out, it's called Hawaii Mobile Concierge, HMC. And they're initially rolling it out in a partnership with a local travel provider that will have users text in to join. Very simple. And in the subsequent phases, provide the cool stuff like visitor videos to location services, where, as you mentioned earlier, you are actually walking down to an area, and maybe there's a flat panel screen next to you, and that is triggered based on the user's location. And it's the whole art of it is, and this is what is Talisman's focusing on, is the sensitivity to the user's privacy. So while the technology is available for us to do that, we're very much focused on the intelligence of what to send a user and what not to send to them.
It's all in the software.
It's all in the software and intelligence, that's right.
So, moving on to Talisman. Tell us about Talisman. Tell us how you got that name. That's such an interesting name, and it's an interesting logo. Can you see the logo? See the logo there. There's the logo, yeah. How did you get that logo?
Oh, it's an interesting question. I get asked that quite a bit. Talisman is by definition a good luck symbol. And years ago, when we traveled around to different parts of the country and world, in parts of Asia, people would wear their cell phones around their neck. And so we thought, well, that is really the good luck symbol of the future. It's a device that keeps us safe. We can contact people and communicate. They can call us. And we also felt that it could also bring you good fortune, such as maybe saving a couple bucks on a cup of coffee.
Well, what I like about it is it's personal.
Right.
It belongs to you. It's like your cell phone is a sort of an extension
Right.
of your own physical self. You can't live without it, that kind of
Right.
thing. So yeah, I think it captures a valuable concept. But anyway, so back to the company. Tell us when the company was formed, how big it is, exactly what it does, how much programming talent you have handy.
Sure. Well, we started in January of 2007. We are a startup. So we have roughly about a dozen people worldwide, the majority here in Hawaii. And one of our reasons that, I always get asked, why are you based in Hawaii? Well, obviously because well, I'm from Hawaii, and but most importantly is because with the cell phone industry specifically, much of the newest technologies are coming from Asia. And we are able to leverage our partnerships there. Hawaii is also a very good test bed for some of the applications. And as a case in point, we're now on the verge of rolling out our products to a lot of major national brands across the country. And Hawaii is a great place to incubate applications. We take technology that is not well known in the United States and convert it, package it in a way that Americans and Western society utilizes technology, and it gives us an edge.
So this technology, what, comes from Asia, comes from Japan?
No, it comes from here. We build it
You
here.
make it here.
We make it here. Everything's homegrown. We do utilize off-the-shelf components when we can, open source when we can to be efficient, but everything, all of our algorithms, all of our designs are all home-baked here.
So tell me about your programming stable. Tell me about your talent that you have there.
Okay, well, that's my limit of technology here, but I've been very fortunate to have a lot of good engineers, a lot of people that have believed in our vision and to make a difference, not only in technology, but to humbly try to change life with some technology tools.
That's a great mission. I really enjoy that kind of thing. That's what we need in Hawaii. So where did they come from? Are they local? Are they from somewhere else? Where were they trained? Do they have experience in other software firms elsewhere?
Yeah, actually, we actually have a very mixed bag of talent. We have some individuals that are from Asia, others that are from the U.S., and others that are in Hawaii. In the continental U.S., we have mainly marketing people. So these are veterans in traditional marketing that have now got excited about the technology that mobile and intelligent marketing brings. So, some of the customers that we have been in discussions with and are about to roll out, include Time Warner on the mainland there, Warner Brothers, Cox Radio also utilizes us here, a number of resort-type hospitality brands, and as well as, of course, the civil defense on the Big Island and University of Hawaii as well.
So how do you make a sale to a national company like Cox? What do you just call them up and say, hi, I'm Kyle?
I wish it were a little bit easier. It's getting a lot easier. I can tell you with any startup, it's about trying to convince value that not everyone necessarily sees. But one thing that works toward our favor is the growing demand for mobile as a vehicle. Most of the brands understand that there is a secret in reaching people if you do it correctly. And I think Talisman's success so far has been because we don't just do mobile, we don't just do text messaging, we don't just do iPhone applications, but it's in the packaging that we do. And by packaging, it means that all of it is combined into a community format, in which case we learn about users. So a big brand finds comfort in knowing that they can reach out to the hundreds of millions of mobile customers out there, but in a way that respects their customers' privacy and interests, and it preserves the quality of the brand. So I think we've been successful in many ways because of our philosophy and what we're based on.
So do you tailor these applications to the client, or do you build them and then go to the client and say, here, this is what we have for you?
I wish we could do it that. In many cases, we think that to be effective, it's first about listening to what the problem is, where we can help them. We do standardize, so we do realize that many of the issues or concerns or areas of growth are very similar. So our products are standardized, but we do customize for brands as well. Yeah, which makes it effective.
Well, so let's talk about video for a minute, because you mentioned video, and ThinkTech would like to disseminate its video bloody everywhere, would like to have those. Do you agree with me that video is the future? Like in the days of, what was it, Mrs. Robinson and The Graduate, was plastics. You got to go into plastics, young man. Well, is it video now, like plastics then?
Well, I think one of the advantages of video is that it's the truest form to life, right? It has moving, it has excitement, it has emotions that some of the other media is challenged to. I think for mobile, it's a natural evolution. I think that it's a good complement to many of the things that we're looking at. So in the case for Oceanic's new application here that we talked about this week, is that video is a key part of that. In fact, when we are in discussions with our headquarters in New York, that really is a benefit. And for a company that's whole livelihood is based on video content.
They have plenty of video.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. And in that case, if you take in Hawaii, I think Oceanic has about 400,000 households that they reach. With mobile platform and doing video, they now have access to 1.3 million, right, of individuals that are potential customers. So to answer your question in a sort of a way, I think video is something that we all like, we enjoy. It's a very easy sale if you can deliver it in a way that people are most receptive to it.
Well, let's shift gears a little. I mean, they're the 800-pound gorilla. What about ThinkTech? We're really small, but we have video. Do you have an application that could help us? We like to deliver our video to a lot of people, but this is a new channel completely for most people. How would we do that? What product would you offer us?
Well, for Talisman, our product, our systems are very scalable. So it can work just as well for a big gorilla,
That's
as you
good.
said, like a Warner Brothers or a mom and pop shop. I think the challenge will be cost issues. So we're not necessarily priced very for a smaller audience. We are built to be very scalable. But the technologies are there where it doesn't necessarily cost us anything much more, or less to do a big or small installation.
That's very encouraging because it means, ultimately, through your own economies of scale, you can offer it more cheaply, or there's more leverage
Sure.
when a smaller company gets it, and the small company can reach you that way.
Right.
But this could change everything. Video
Sure.
could change everything. So
Right. Right.
will you call me when you get to that
Absolutely.
point?
Well, we'll talk a little bit after this.
So, what other products have you got, that make it worthwhile for big and small companies to use Talisman?
Well, a lot of it we say it's been cooking in the oven, and part of my job in looking at the overall is to identify which technologies are ready here, which technologies are right around the corner, and things that are even further out. So I can tell you, from this perspective, we are really pushing the envelope with location-based services. Some of the next area of growth is going to be to expand into more ubiquitous deployments. For example, this application today is with Oceanic, is specifically for the iPhone. We are also working with other partners on upcoming 4G networks where you have Wi-Fi, WiMAX. Faster networks mean more multimedia, more video. So for Talisman, it means adopting those technologies into other mobile products, such as Android handsets or even
That's
netbook
the
computers.
Google phone, yeah.
Sure. So I think that is probably the next stage where you have more consumer adoption for it. The basic components are still being used, but where it gets really interesting is in our artificial intelligence, and that's really where we started off on Talisman. It's everything that we do, whether it's a text message or you're watching a video. We try to learn about you in a privacy protection way. We don't know your name. All we really know is that your number, and this is the type of video that category that you'll watch, with the intent that if you decide to get more content on a suggestive basis, it's up to you. If you push that on switch, then we can send you more content that you may like. And some of the things that I think will come into the future is, specifically with location-based services. Again, we're more than just mobile phones. So if we have the ability to know what you like, know when you don't want to be disturbed, when you're receptive to getting a message or content, we can now interface with other devices. So, as I mentioned earlier, walking down into a building and have maybe a Coca-Cola ad that starts up because it knows that I'm thirsty or I want to drink something. It could be a little bit scary, right?
It sounds scary.
Especially if it's
Tell me when I'm thirsty, eh?
Well, but so I think that's part of the challenge. It's about when I worked for Apple a number of years ago, there was a term called human interface, right? Human interface was specifically looking at how humans interface with technology. What things did they like? What were they afraid of? What the tool sets had to be. And I think the reality when people talk about spam and privacy, as humans, I think we complain about things that are more annoying to us, or they were a fear factor to us. So if you can utilize technology in a way that's gives you assurance, protects your fear, but also is targeted to you, then I think people will be more receptive to it. And a good example is, I get spam all the time. And people will complain about
I
spam
can
on
tell
email.
you about spam.
Yeah. But until the time that you get an offer in there that it could be for a free coffee or a discount, and it just takes that one for you to say, well, I'm going to go down to Best Buy and use it. And was it spam? Yeah, but I liked it, so it doesn't bother me. But send me other things that I don't like, and I call it spam. So I think as humans, we're very much natures of that behavior, right? So part of our deal is if we understand what you like, and we can give you what you like, I don't think we'll get many complaints.
Well, what you're talking about really, it rings true. It resonates for me on a conversation I had this morning where I learned something that I did not know. What I learned is that there's a new generation of nuclear reactor,
Okay.
and it's the size of a Volkswagen, and it can generate maybe 50 or 100, what would that be, gigawatts? No, megawatts. 50 or 100 megawatts out of a device the size of a Volkswagen, which is modular and replaceable. And you say to yourself, what makes this different? Why is this notable? Well, it's because this is not the 3 Mile Island kind of reactor. This is a smart reactor. Everything about it has been programmed. Somebody has sat and used all the logic, all the knowledge about how reactors work, how people use reactors, how they connect with the grid, whatnot, and programmed that. So this is a million miles later, a million light years away from the 3 Mile Island kind of reactor.
Right.
And it just goes for the proposition that if you think it through, these days there's a programming language that will let you do it.
Right.
And all the real talent, which I'm sure you learned at Apple, is trying to build an interface which takes that into account.
Right.
Either for a 3G or a 4G or a nuclear reactor.
Right.
And it's great that you're on that. So tell me, what did you learn at Apple that makes you so so understanding of this process?
I think it's the reality that I've always been a jack of all trade, master of none. I did many things, but nothing really well. I think what I saw, and actually I graduated as a finance major, so investment banking. So that was my path, but I had gave it up. I had a great opportunity to work with Apple, and the reason I did it, and I asked them, why me? I mean, I'm totally not the computer guy. I tried MIS and I failed. So, but I saw what got me interested was because I saw how technology can change lives, and I saw it in the kids that were using computers. So I think that myself and the guys in my generation had a unique opportunity to see a big jump in evolution on technology. We could see, I still remember learning on a typewriter, but I quickly moved into the computer, and I think from that perspective, Apple showed me how much you could change life through something as potentially cold as technology could be, right? Non-emotional, but can bring so much emotional, can bring out the true artist in someone. In fact, one of the things I remember about it was one of the questions I ask people sometimes, and it's a check for me, is what is the most technically advanced tool that man has ever made? Any idea? It's probably something you'll never guess. It's the pencil.
Explain.
Well, the pencil is because it's powerless, right? It's very simple. There's no training involved. You simply put it in your hand and you let what is inside you comes out. You can draw a beautiful Mona Lisa, or you can draw a straight line, right? You can draw a novel, write a novel. It also lets you correct mistakes. So it's a device that was developed, invented, is purely technological, and write on anything, is powerless, and is timeless. And I think that while it's probably impractical to ever see an iPhone being something like that, I think that's the goal that I try to keep in my mind, that everything that we develop has that goal. We don't make technology for technology. We make it for mankind. And I think that if you shoot for that goal, your products, if we get a portion of that goal, then you come up with something special.
You learned a lot at Apple.
Well, I'm very grateful. We had some good people there.
Well, you learn that a device has a certain personality for us, and we have a relationship with the device, and we see the device as yielding a certain kind of benefit, and we want the device to be appealing and friendly and warm and helpful and all that. And Apple certainly has achieved that. Even when it fails, it's still your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it's, could be confusing and, unhelpful, you still see it as helpful.
Right,
And
right.
what a great brand to have achieved.
Right.
So you understand that. You also understand the notion of, I think, the iteration between building the software
Mm-hmm.
and building the hardware and sort of cranking in all those thoughts
Mm-hmm.
that appeal to the user.
Right.
It's no one of those things is by itself. They all have to work together.
Right, right.
And maybe Apple, the great interface company, must have given you the start on that.
I think so, and humbly, I think that with the mobile technologies, we really have a chance to do something close to that, and some of the applications like today for it's fact that the civil defense is using us on the Big Island, and they push out tsunami alerts, huge information that people need to know, and I think that the advantage there is that with the evolution of technology, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. I mean, you have homeless people on the beach that have cell phones, right? And if they have them,
Not true.
they get that information. One of the questions you asked me is what is the next step? Well, one of the things that when I was in college was I always questioned. It was in political science, and I actually thought about being an attorney too.
Political science to banking to
Yeah, again, master of all trades, master of none. But one of the things that I never could understand was why we had elected officials. And I'm not trying to make a political statement.
I can't understand that either. I'm with you all the way on that, Kyle.
Well, and it's because the basics that it's impractical to have 300 million people sit in a room and vote. Right, it just won't happen. So, being ignorant at the time, I said, I don't understand why. Why isn't that the case? Why can't I have the right to vote at every second of the time through a device? And it's academic. My thought is academic. But we're now entering the age where those excuses are gone. We can have a technology like this that, should you choose to make a difference, you have your own voice. Whether it's about voting on an issue, expressing what you believe. And I think that's what technology brings too, and mobile has a big part in that.
That's scary. I was on a trip recently, and I had occasion to read the Herald Tribune, International Herald Tribune. It's an excellent paper, and it had a great op-ed piece on exactly this. I think it was called Democracy 2.0. And the notion was, why can't we all vote on things? Why can't we all vote on everything?
Right.
The president would like to see that. He'd like to go the next step and have this kind of broad, based, everyone involved kind of democracy. The problem with it is, in a practical sense, is that people may not be informed,
Right.
and the mob may move the wrong way, make a big
Sure.
mistake,
Sure.
and you probably do have to have an intermediary there,
Right.
assuming he's qualified.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's going that way, don't you
Right.
think?
I think so. And it should be there for those that choose to. I mean, and the reality is, I think there are a lot of people here that in society that are educated, can make a difference, but for some reason aren't able to, and it's not because of those reasons. And so I think technology, for its small part, can help that.
Well, I think it's going to change politics, and soon. It's already changing politics. The question is when this country is going to enable us to order a Coke out of a Coke machine without having to put coins in there. And can you help?
Yes, in fact, we do some of those things
Is
today
that right?
in Asia. Yes. Within reason. I mean, if you're familiar with in Japan, they've mobilized many of their commerce activities, so you can take a train from your mobile phone, taxis now. So when I go to Tokyo, in fact, I'm going to go next week. I rarely carry coins or cash anymore. I just use a Suica, or there's different scan cards for it. So it just makes things more efficient.
I don't want to tell you something you already know, but conceivably you could use your cell phone to do exactly the same thing.
Right.
No more of
Right.
those cards.
Oh,
You scan your cell phone. Why
Exactly.
not?
Exactly. It's all built into it.
Yeah, my friend Keith
Yeah.
Againa told me about a program that reads barcodes.
Yep.
Okay, so if the cell phone can read things and communicate and charge you through your
Right.
credit card somewhere else for all the stuff, you can go through your whole life living on the basis of your cell phone.
It's a little scary there, but we do that too as well with Talisman, because we're again influenced by the Asian technologies too. We support QR coding, even the debit side for mobile commerce as well. So not all those technologies, unfortunately, can be used in the U.S. at this time, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, that's the thing, these things can't be used in the U.S., but when you travel, either east or west, you see on both sides of that equation, they're more advanced than we are. They're out of the box more than we are. They have a way to integrate this technology into their lives. We haven't figured it out yet. So when's that coming? When are we getting the number 4, the G4 cell phones that we can go to the next step?
I think I get asked that a lot too. How back is the United States in mobile. And my reality that I found it is that we're not necessarily behind them. I think if you pick a particular technology such as IC integration in mobile phones, the ability to go to a train station and scan your phone. Yes, we don't have that today. But I think what the United States has over all the other countries is the applications of how we use the phones. And a good example is Apple. Right. In fact, just the other day I was talking to some other technologists, and they would always say, well, Japan is great because you have all these PC leaders, the best electronics. And the irony that has happened in the last 2 years or 3 years, ever since the iPhone went to Japan, is that it is shocking that how a device that's so Western, right? If you ever look at a Japanese phone and you look at an American phone, it's dramatically different. But how that has, I believe, so much more powerful expandability in it. 4G and network speed is one thing, technical devices are another. So I think the overall is that there is a convergence. I think that while in the past the Japanese and some of the Asian markets had more higher end technologies, I think the U.S. is in a leading position in a way to utilize those applications to make it more powerful.
Yeah, conceptualization,
Sure,
software,
that's
integration,
right. The creativity,
convergence, all that.
That's right.
We are good at that, aren't we?
I think we can
You're good at that.
tap ourselves. Well, not mine, but yeah, Americans are pretty good at that.
So where is Hawaii in all this picture? Until I meet somebody like you, and I do once in a while, I worry about Hawaii because I don't see it as on the playing field for this. But you're clearly a statement that we're on the playing field.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but thank you.
Where's Hawaii going? What are your prospects? What is the prospects of companies like you here to play on the global field?
Yeah, that's a good question. I spent the majority of my professional life on the mainland, actually, in working in the high-tech field, everything from telecom to manufacturing, telecom infrastructure. So when I came back to Hawaii, actually, there was the reality that I probably wouldn't be doing something in technology. And I was okay with that, but part of it is, a large part of it is looking at the opportunities that are here. Mobile stands unique, as I mentioned earlier, because of the positioning. I think Hawaii, in addition to the technology aspects, provides a very good test bed for technology. So perhaps we don't have the number of people, the number of engineers here. Perhaps we don't have exposure to the type of corporations that feed technology. But I think that the Hawaii people are very much cultural communicators. We understand people. We understand not just Americans, but we understand Asians, Europeans, and everything. And if you look at the effectiveness of technology, what will actually people use, I think Hawaii is one of the best places for that.
The living laboratory.
Exactly. And again, I'm just giving my opinion on really what I see is that Hawaii will never be another Silicon Valley, and I don't think it's important that we are. I think
all we need is one good invention that will change the
world.
world.
Well, we've had many. We've had many.
Okay.
I think we have. In fact, looking back, and this is not documented, but I'm pretty sure the first scanning device in a supermarket actually got tested here. In fact, one of our partners, Oceanic Time Warner, when I travel across the country just last week, everyone understands that. Well, Hawaii is a great test bed. In fact, some of them confidentially said, well, we would love to roll this kind of technology in these other cable areas, including the number one cable provider. But they said, but not everyone is like Hawaii. We can't be that proactive. So I think it's more than just what we can deliver. It's the mindsets that Hawaii has. And I don't want to pat ourselves too much on the back because there are a lot of room for growth.
Talking about the problems,
Right. But I think if you look, I think it depends. Technology in general, probably is questioned whether or not it is the right place in here. But biotech, mobile, there are a few that are definitely number one places. Number one places to be here. So it's really what your mission is.
Well, the other thing is that the cell phone. Not only this is a great cell phone, the iPhone and all its progeny, and soon the 4G will be incredible. But it just strikes me the cell phone is a new chapter, a new platform, and it boggles the mind how many applications are out there. When they came out with the App Store on the iPhone, I thought, well, okay, there'll be a few, but now there's hundreds and going forward for thousands and all this, and you realize that you could wake up tomorrow morning and come up with an app that would change the world.
That's right.
Anybody could do that, and programming is not that hard. So we live in a why not Hawaii? Why can't we be the
Sure.
app store of the bridge to Asia or something?
That's right. That's right. And I think, that's what it is. It's about bringing the human part into technology. Hawaii does have some clear strengths, right? It's about doing some acid tests on technology. Anybody can come up with something cool, but really does it have value, right?
Yeah.
And I think Hawaii does have that. It's also, we are in a sense our own ecosystem. So some of the pilot applications that we ran early on, they were almost in a sense worst case scenarios. The ability to go into a rural community where the average age is 50 to 55, how well could they use mobile phones? Well, unsurprisingly, it wasn't a 50+%, but surprisingly, it's 20+% saturation that we get in some of these, which means that when we deploy into a downtown LA or a Chicago or New York, the numbers are going to be, unquestionably higher. Mm-hmm. So I think Hawaii gives us a good opportunity to really field test some of these things.
Is this your way of telling me that you're going to stay here?
Well, the globe is a small place, so I think being everywhere is probably the key. Hawaii is always a good home base.
Yeah, sure, home base, and it's so easy to travel around virtually.
Yeah, right.
And let's talk about that. Is your company being run virtually? I mean, do your programmers and all their brilliant thoughts, are they at home or are they in a bullpen somewhere?
Well, we give them long chains. Rather, actually, we try to work, very much open because we are a creative company. So we definitely, our designs aren't only computers, right? They're not from computers. They're about how the human interface of it. So we do, most of our staff is actually remote. They're in the field with the sales and marketing as well. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that also helps in understanding our customers. So it's beneficial there. But also one of the values that we do see is from an engineering perspective. It's important for us to communicate as a group. So while some companies, and in my companies in the past, you can literally work at a desk, whether in an office or at home, program until you fall asleep. But what we try to do is interact. So, take a typical programmer that may not necessarily like to interact, but the benefits...
No, they're all geeks anyway.
Well, we all are at the end of the day, right?
Everybody's a geek at heart.
That's right. So we're cool geeks, all right?
But it's one kind of the other.
That's right. There's a distinction. But I think that's what another value of Hawaii too. I think Hawaii has a culture, and that while I can respectively say that I worked in different areas, and every area is beautiful in its own way, Hawaii has a unique culture as well. So we try to put a little aloha in our code as well.
That's great. Yeah. And it does sell, I'm sure. So when are you going public, actually, Kyle?
We are public, not for investment public,
That's
but
what I mean.
We're public. Well, thank you. We're actually, we're.
Who owns you right now, and what you got invested in it?
It's myself and a partner. I have a partner in there. So we're planned strategically to grow. We believe that if we provide value, that everything else comes, and it's about building a good product, making people understand it's a great product, and help us build a better product. But we've been pretty good in headway. Our goal is to expand, and we're just about now at the gate. Where we've demonstrated our product in Oceanic for a year now. I'm sure the average consumer has been exposed to it in one way or the other. It may not be this
whether he
iPhone
realizes
app.
it or not.
Right,
yeah.
right. In fact, one of the popular apps is two of them. One is before this iPhone app was getting real-time alerts. So if you wanted to know exactly up to the minute when U8 scored and what the score was, you can get that pushed to your mobile phone. Oceanic does that. Another of their popular communities is movies, and they give away free movie passes to a movie community. Case in point, there is periodically they would send out invitations. So people in the community get an invitation. They would say reply back with movie to get entered into a free movie pass. And we've had like 70 to 100 people that would reply back within a few seconds. It's incredible if you think about it,
Sure.
the response rate on that.
And if you're on location based, you'd be walking by the movie theater.
That's right.
And your phone rings and it says, guess what, Fidell?
Yeah.
You're entitled to $2 off your movie ticket
That's
if you
right.
act now.
That's right. That's right.
And I would. So, okay, so you have you taken angel money?
It's all private.
Going for venture capital of any kind? Are you a 221 company?
Yes, we were 221, and I often get asked if that's a critical reason that we got started. And I can safely say that 221 has been beneficial because it allows us to take a higher level of risk not ignorant risk or uncalculated risk. I think, critically, as being a 221, I can say for myself, is that I think there's a good way and a bad way. I think the majority of companies have taken it in a good way, where they've not only utilized 221, but utilized it to the benefit in that, it's about dreams and making things happen. And many times that just removes it's the last straw that you take away from the camel back that makes it work. So I'm a very strong component of 221. I'm also a strong critic of it as well. For Talisman's perspective, I believe that it was critical for us, but it was also that our focus was on creating a big product, a good product, regardless if we had a 221 funding or not. At this point in our cycle, we are at a growth stage, but the investment is not so much of a concern. It's we're looking to align ourselves with the right strategic partners or individuals. And so we're actually okay from that perspective. We're looking more for partners that will help us grow, not necessarily for funding, but for getting into different business
It's
accounts.
not true. It's all about partners.
It's
Partners are like investors.
That's right.
Partners keep you going.
Right. Well, and the beauty of that is because we learn from each other, right? Whenever I get into a situation when I think, oh, no one knows it, I know it all, I bring in somebody else and why maybe I don't know it all.
That doesn't work.
Right.
So you talk about dreams. What's your dream, Kyle? Where is it going from here? Where do you want to see it in, say, 5 years?
It's always been the same since I graduated, I think, and from Apple, it's to change the world. As silly as it sounds, and as maybe
the modest
as cheap a modest requirement,
requirement.
and I think through life, as I got older, I think I've tried to bring reality to that in a way that I think is achievable. And I think for years ago, I wanted to go into the legal field, actually, because I thought maybe that's really changing lives.
That might have been between the banking and the programming, right?
Oh, right. And then I thought, well, for some reason I was given this track, and seems to be works for me and other people. So maybe it's something to do with technology. And I'm seeing a little bit more of the picture getting clearer. I think that technology is a big impact on life. So to answer your question, where I see myself in 5 years, I think that if Talisman not only is a successful business is one thing, but I think if we've changed the way people live and the life, whether it's a guy on the beach again getting a civil defense tsunami warning, or a family being able to save a few bucks by going into a store and smiling at the experience. I think that means a lot. And it sounds funny because I'm a businessman too, I have to be, but I think that's really the goal of it.
So I really wanted to ask you about the hardware. Okay, right now we have 3G. We're moving to 4G. Specifically, I mean, to the extent that you, a software person, can think about this, what's the difference between 3G and 4G? What can we expect?
Well, it's the main difference is speed. And I say the main difference because the other impact of having more bandwidth is a convergence and change in the way we receive calls or use the internet today. So just by definition, 3G speeds is what typically you'd get from a mobile carrier in the mobile world is what you'd get. And if you run a speed test, you can get anywhere from 300K to over a meg in a typical deploy area. I'll stay away from the theoreticals because many times that doesn't.
Well, we're talking about the near term.
Sure. In the 4G arena, we're talking about speeds that are 10 to 100 times that. So you're talking not only dramatically increased speed on mobile platforms, but dramatically increased speeds of what we have at home. The impact to users and to society is that not only do we get things faster, but we get more rich applications. So for example, the application that we're doing with Oceanic and the mobile phones, because of the network infrastructure, the video is not as good as you can see on your home television, right? And I think this year Oceanic has HD for football, and it's great. HD is great. We can't do that on the phone yet. We can't even do it even if you're on a Wi-Fi network. It becomes challenging. 4G changes that. So you now have the ability to not only see more rich content, but you can also be on the phone and do multitasking while you're doing it. It also opens up the door for some creative applications. So example, the ability for me to stream big content to a portable device that's wireless, and to be able to transfer that data potentially to another wider screen. So you open the door for many, not just bandwidth intensive applications, but more rich combination of applications. From a time frame perspective, 3G is sort of here now. I mean, it's, and the reason I
It
say
is already in existence in Asia?
is yes. I mean, they're actually in a hybrid. They get faster speeds, a lot faster than we do here, but a lot depends on the handsets as well. So in the U.S., it's recognized. You hear it on television. It's
Yeah.
the 3G network.
Yeah.
AT&T and Sprint will say that as well. What's coming around the corner, and I believe Time Warner, Clearwire, and Sprint are offering it in Hawaii. I think at the ending of the year, that will have 4G, and the 4G in general terms falls under two categories. There's the WiMAX and there's LTE, long-term evolution.
Can you
And
define how those
yep,
work?
and it's just a technological term. They really do the same thing a little bit differently, and it's a debate which is better. You can Google that and kind of find it out. I really am not partial to either. I think it's about time to market. So from a time to market perspective, Hawaii will have it by I think the ending of the year for the WiMAX. So you'll be able to go into a Sprint store or go into I think buy it from Oceanic Time Warner as well, or Clearwire, and it follows the same path of technological evolution. So technology's there. The next step is to get handsets. So the first handsets aren't scheduled yet to be out until sometime in 2010, which is relatively soon.
In this country or?
Oh, in this country, yes, in this country. So until then, you'll have PDA cards or USB cards that you can connect to your laptop. They'll come out with 4G modems, and the initial application difference for users will just be that they can surf the internet faster. Nothing dramatically different there. But I think some of the things that Talisman actually is a part of is in discussions with some of the 4G forums that are going on and to develop some very cool apps in the handsets, right? The ability, like for instance, what you see today on Google Maps, you can see street views on some things, but the ability to do two-way video in a street view format, right? So me holding up my phone, utilizing the camera to now display where I am and having that broadcasted to the other person I'm talking to or on my website and having that all shared is kind of a cool thing.
That far off. I mean, we have all the elements of it, so
Right.
we just got to integrate it.
Right, that's right.
Well, so does this mean we have to change the cell structure? You know what I mean? Those towers. What's going on about that? Because all this technology is changing, and the speed is changing, and the interrelationship of the cell towers and the wireless. Where's it going? What's happening now? What are they doing?
Well, it varies by carriers. For the most part, it's not so much of a painful upgrade. With different technologies, some are more space requirements, so you have to have a shorter range towers. But what the carriers are doing, and they've been working on it for a number of years, is doing facilities plans on it. So I don't think society won't notice any difference. It's not like you're going to see all these towers come up. For the most part, if anything, it's replacement of some transmitters on existing towers, maybe some formations of new ones. But it's definitely an investment for these carriers to do. That's why it's taking a little bit of
So
time.
I thought a cell tower is one thing, and a wireless node is another thing. Are they coming together to be the same thing, or is the phone designed to pick it up? Pick one up sometimes and pick the other up sometimes.
Sure. So there's always been a convergence of not necessarily of the technologies, but of the applications we use. So for instance, today, when we make a voice call on a cell phone, it utilizes a TDM network. It's a voice network dedicated for voice. When we bring up our browser, we're using the IP packet network, and it's literally two radios or two forms of transmissions from your phone that are different areas. With 4G and more bandwidth, you, in a sense, have a single bigger pipe that can use voice over IP, like how we make a Skype call today on the internet. You can utilize it on the same pipe that you do surfing the internet. And now that we have video encoding, you can have the multi video conferencing on it. And for the end user, I don't know the difference. It's just that I have a phone, it looks the same, but I can see web surfing's faster. I can now do two-way video calls on my phone. For the network operators, it's a good news because it saves on costs. Facilities costs go down, and they have greater density, so they can support more subscribers on their network.
So this programming to scan on one and the other, depending on the circumstances, pick the right one, that's happening at the phone level. You for example, in Talisman, you wouldn't be involved in programming that particular scan.
Right, right, and that's part of the advantage that technology has given companies like us. It's
You get the benefit of it.
We get the benefit because it becomes a lot less complicated. I come from the telco area, so I know some of the pains associated with it. The benefit to a startup company like Talisman is that we utilize the best in technology that's available today. So it helps us get even better by developing more applications that take advantage of
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the way you do it and the way it can be done. First of all, can you put in words the way it is to work with the what is it, software development kit that comes with Apple, the Apple SDK
Sure.
for building apps? Is it hard? Is it easy? Can I pick it up right now and do it? Do I need a computer? What do I need?
Sure, I need to make you aware that I'm not a programmer, so I'm not really
Looking over
full
their
of stuff.
shoulders.
Oh, sure, sure. So most of these systems are built on some type of kit, development kit, or a platform. And so we utilize basic skill sets like of course C, Java, in addition to the web type tools. For the handsets, we utilize these SDK, software development kits. So in the case for Apple's kit, I think it was recognized in the industry as very easy to use. We found it so as well. I think the reality now is after I think Apple has 50,000 plus apps or something like that as an astronomical number, that you can tell the difference though. While a kit may be easy to use, it's still the creativity and how you develop the human interfaces of it that matters. So,
Sure.
so the answer, I guess, is yes. With a little programming knowledge, I definitely couldn't do it, but I understand that it is pretty easy to pick up and do a development kit. And for that reason, with Talisman, it's more than just about building that app, because we believe that is a skill set that the mass amount of people should be able to do. The challenge still remains on what someone does with that application and what the back end will do with it. So as a case in point, we talked about the phone carriers having the facilities to transport data. We talked about the application level where the SDK comes into play. You write an application for it, but there is a sort of middleware in a sense where the two communicate to each other. How does an iPhone app talk to a network, whether it's a website or to another person on the other line? And I think that's where Talisman is where we build a platform for that.
So when you go to the platform and you're programming, if you will, I don't want to stress you out about
No,
that.
sure.
If you go to the programming of the larger application that you're going to build for Time Warner or Oceanic or whoever, what language are you using there? What are the what do you call it, the production parameters of building that?
Well, we use a bunch, probably all the different sets up there. Definitely Java. We use quite a bit of Rails, Ruby Rails, and Object-C for the SDK on the app iPhone application. But also Android utilizes a different base. I can't remember what it is right now. But so one of the challenges that I had when we started Talisman was to identify the right skill sets for these developers. And it was difficult because no one at the time really developed. I mean, this is before the iPhone came out. It was before Android was even talked about. And back then, mobile developers were building for mobile devices, right, as opposed to platforms. So it was really about creating an architecture from scratch, and we utilized existing web tools for that. To build that platform.
So is Android more complex, more sophisticated than the Apple SDK?
I'm not sure actually, because I'm not a programmer again, but I believe that the benefit of Android is that it's a open standard. In other words, there is not as one of the criticisms of the Apple platform is that every application goes through a review. Our own application went through an intensive review as well. We didn't really have any issues with it, but there's some in the trades talking about how I think Slingbox and Google's Voice, right, had issues getting through the App Store. Android, by comparison, is more open. I think it's free as well. You can get a developer kit. So You know, having worked in Apple, I have an opinion on that too. I think that there's a fine balance between having something that's totally open and having something that's closed, but yet becomes a lot more tighter and a nicer platform.
Safer, predictable.
Right, because it has
and
standards.
Right, it has the same look and feel and all that stuff.
Right.
You know, I
So
mean,
it's
sort
a
of to
trade-off.
summarize a lot of the things we've been talking about is that a lot of success in what I think you're doing is the idea of coming up with an idea which fits this device and fits this technology in our lives. And the one that comes to my mind is Rocket Taxi, which if you don't know about it, it's a program that's location-based, and you push a button and a taxi comes because the program, you know, knows where you are, and it sends a message
Is
to
that right?
a participating taxi company, which
Ah.
which for them it's just some program on the web.
Right.
And they get this message from your iPhone. They know where you are. They send a taxi. Now that's elegant and so simple.
Right.
You know, wished I'd thought of that.
Right.
You say to yourself, as good as that is, there's another one, you know, just an inch away, that somebody else is going to wake
Right,
up at
right.
3 o'clock in the morning and figure that out too.
Right.
So I'm thinking, you know, we're in an ongoing process
Right.
now. It isn't locked at Rocket Taxi or anything else.
Absolutely.
And that if you have 20,000 apps or 50,000 apps today,
Right.
you'll have 300,000 apps
That's
in
right.
5 years.
That's right.
So how do you have those thoughts about the next step? How do you do that 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, moment?
Well, I mean, as far as you know, with inevitable clutter, you know, with you know,
with moving on,
Yep.
you know, with getting the next idea.
well, you know, one of I think the famous sayings in sports, right, is Gretzky would always say, never look at the puck, but look where it's going, right? Look where it's going. So I think in technology, it's a fine balance because I've worked in environments where all we do is looking in front and we're not necessarily taking advantage of the now. I think it really is a balance of the two. So I guess to answer your question is, technology will always get cluttered. And, you know, when I first started Talisman, my biggest concern was about being copied. I thought that we had such a great idea that everyone would copy us. But in reality, no one knew about us, so it wasn't really a problem. And the reality, one of my business directors used to always tell me, he says, don't worry about it, because once companies go down a certain path, they're on as nimble, and everyone believes that their product is the best, just like how you believe in yours. And I think to get through that, it's about, keeping your eyes open, learning from other people, learning what you failed on, what is good, tweaking it, and associating with good technologies, and also taking risks. There's in everything in my personal career, I've always taken some risks that in hindsight were more maybe mistakes, but I've learned more from falling than I did from not falling. So technology, you have the luxury, and one of the things about software technology is you're quickly adaptive. You can change things very quickly, which just the other night we were talking with some of our other developers. But I come from more of a hardware development. So one of the issues with hardware is that before you ever went to production, you have to have everything tight. Otherwise, you're blowing hundreds of $millions on a device that's useless. With software, you have the luxury of changing things, which is a good and a bad thing, right? Because you have a potential opportunity to be sloppy on things, and we are always on top of that too. When we fall prey to that sometimes. It's like, well, okay, it's not really, may not be there. We wanted the 101%, but we'll do it now, and we find out that it was a little bit short, and we can make a correction on it. So I think that helps technology grow too. We can roll things out quicker. But it's getting back to your question on that, I think that there will always be great ideas out there, but more important than having, or equally important of having a good idea, is being able to ground it and execute on it, which is really what it's all about when you try to do business in startups.
An idea without any execution isn't going to help anybody.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, ThinkTech, okay, wants to push video. It wants to get. It has a lot of constituents who have iPhones and or will have iPhones, whether it's 3G or 4G. Suppose we came to you and we said, Kyle, what about something that would make that would bring our group together, that would give them value off, for example, the video of this very discussion between you and me today. What could be done? Do you have a product? Does somebody else have a product? Could you make a product that you think, just off the cuff now,
Sure.
that would help us do that?
Sure, I think there are a number of options. It's a question of distribution. So if you have your own, you like to have your own community, I think that the tool sets are available. Certainly it's about either getting a website or a mobile application that will allow you to have users download, just like how Oceanic does. You download the own application. You'd have blogs in there, the ability to get certain type of content as well as watch video on it. Another opportunity may be to work with Oceanic or different video distribution channels to be a part of their mobile network. One of the opportunities for new video in a new format is that it's free flowing and it's very much dynamic. One of the elements of our system is that every user, and it could be millions of users that are mobile members in a community, can have their own video list.
Okay, now my final question, Kyle. My final question is this. You've been through the wars, at least to some extent. You've achieved notable success, it sounds like. So the question is, what advice would you give to somebody, say, 10 years your junior, who could be going in this general direction? Look at the camera and tell that young fellow or girl what you think they ought to be doing to get to the right place.
That's a tough one. I guess it would have to be, and many people have said it before. I think it's about being truth to yourself, understanding what you like, and never letting go of it, no matter how silly that people think you are about it. If you believe it, that's really all that matters. And I'll give you some truth to it. It's like what you asked me earlier. What do I want to do? What's my dream? Is to change the world. And I've got laughed at that more, and not only laughed at the first time. People that says, wait, are you serious? Right? And it's almost like when I lose job opportunities of it because they thought that it was too silly and it wasn't defined enough.
Not silly.
I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. So everyone has their different core of what they want to be. And I think that's the core, whether it's a technology, whether it's about being an attorney, being a doctor, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a prestigious job or anything like that. It's just being truthful for that. My grandfather always told me, at first he'd go and he'd say, son, you're going to be the first Asian American president ever had. And I said, oh, but then he noticed, but you like to chase the garbage man running on the street. And he said, well, he said, you gotta be this. Whatever you be the best that you can be. It doesn't matter because you can be a president or you can be, anything. And I think that's what stuck with me.
That's great. Good advice. Take a chance. Have a dream.
That's right.
Change
it doesn't
the
matter.
world.
That's right.
It's great to meet you, Kyle.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
Thanks
I appreciate
for coming
the
down.
opportunity.
It's a great discussion. I really enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.